For Bigfoot Club for life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bigfoot Club. Robert Jesse Dominguez, Ash Tucker, Chris Collins, Steven Robert Dominguez. Believe in us. Believe in Bigfoot Club. Because we are too sweet.
Hey everybody, Bigfoot Club, Season 2, Episode 16. I'm your host, Robert Dominguez, and with me is Ash and Steven. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey.
How you guys doing?
Hanging in there.
Yeah, we're still hanging in there.
You still quarantined?
Still quarantining. Good old Carrollton.
And I'm still working like a dog.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I said that to Earl whenever we were doing the wrestling segment. He asked me how I was doing. I said, I'm working like a dog.
What kind of dog? Because sometimes dogs don't really work anymore, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I've been working.
That's a quote from I Love You, Man.
Yeah. Working like a dog.
Like a dog.
I did want to say that I did the Dark Side of Insanity podcast on the Paranormal Junkyard channel with James Maynard.
Maynard.
Yeah. Maynard, sorry.
Maynard? Like,
From Tool.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did his show on Friday, and it was actually pretty good. He actually had some good questions, so I was really happy with it. And
Right on.
we were jumping around between Bigfoot and paranormal, so we were hitting all the aspects of it. And what do you I think I kind of touched on if Bigfoots were affected by EMF, and I thought that was actually pretty good because he was asking me about what was the scariest place I've been. I said Brown Springs by far because it was like I went there for Bigfoot stuff and I felt like it was there for paranormal almost in a way. So that place was.
It's possible, but, you know, it could have just been them because a lot of people describe that, you know, you get that, like, being watched, ominous feeling,
Yeah.
you know, but... Yeah, it is interesting, and I would think that they would be. I mean, I think anything with the brain would be, you know, because it's full of electricity.
So, and Steven was telling me that it was cutting off a lot. Was it Steven?
Yeah, it was. I got to the part where you were talking about I don't know if we should talk about it, but like a guy who was going through something where he saw like a shadow, his dog was barking or something, and and he was saying, "We are many," and
we are many,
like, yeah. So I was like, and then it cut off right there, and I was like, "What the heck?" So I'd have to exit out of the website or that player, and then reload it and open it up again, and it would start all over. I go, really?
It was. He's using, I think, Spreaker. I've never heard of that.
I haven't either.
So
yeah, that's.
But
the quality was great.
Yeah, I think it's probably better to listen to, because I actually went back and listened to it just to see if I could hear any of the cutoff spots. Because like whenever I was doing a show, because I was doing a show through the Rodecaster Pro, I heard a bunch of feedback from my end. I could hear myself double. Like again, I don't know why. I said, I hope it doesn't come on the. So I went back and listened, and I couldn't hear it. So
That's good.
yeah, it's kind of weird, but
I might listen to it one day. I don't know. I was in here watching Star Trek, so.
Yeah, you were watching, what's it, Deep Space Nine?
No, I'm still watching Picard.
Oh, Picard. Okay, right on. I got to finish watching that.
It's so good.
That's what...
it's ridiculous. It's like, I don't know. If you're just like a novice fan, it might be kind of meh. But it's definitely like really, really fan-oriented, I feel like, you know.
It had some cameos in it, right?
It did. Not nearly enough for my taste, but it was good, you know. Of course, they can't have every single body. You know, they got to bring in new people and all that stuff, you know, which they weren't. It was good, you know. They didn't just bring new people in for the sake of it. They actually had good character development.
Good.
It's really violent, though. I didn't expect that. Oh, my gosh. But since it's on streaming instead of on cable, they can get away with that. And they say the F word sometimes.
You ever
What?
Yeah.
It's not on regular TV, so
Yeah, it's on the CBS All Access, so yeah.
like streaming stuff. Did they have where you know how like whenever the ship hits something and they like fly and there's like debris just comes out of nowhere, just
Like when they drop out of warp.
yeah.
Of course,
I always love that. So where's that stuff come from?
Yeah, well, it's about,
Yeah.
space is. There was one character that said, we're in space, but space is anything but because it's full of everything.
Yeah. There's like, you can't touch nothing because it's far away.
But it's forever and it's all kinds of shit out there, man.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, man. Okay. So actually, yeah, go and I'll actually post a link on if anybody's interested in listening to that interview I did. I'll post it on the Bigfoot Club tonight. I think I already did, but I'll just do it again. So, so what I wanted to talk about tonight, which was actually what I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and it's not Bigfoot related. It's Indrid Cold.
Duh.
So I know you guys. We talked off show about it. Just before we start talking about it, I just wanted to get y'all's take on it. What did y'all think about the subject, or in general, or whatever?
I think it's really interesting.
It is interesting. But would you call it paranormal, or would you call that? Is there a word for that?
It's
ufology.
Yeah, well,
Ufology.
Because technicalities, but how I've always heard it is like paranormal would deal with anything like UFO. Like
Right.
Supernatural would be more so like spirits and stuff. So I would,
Right.
paranormal is anything outside of the realm
Yeah.
of what we are understood science.
Yeah, it's not an animal, so it's not cryptid. So, but man, I've always been interested in this, and I thought for the longest time, and we'll get more into it. But I go that's tied into the Mothman prophecies.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, a lot of times it is classified as cryptid, and people think that that he's the same thing. I don't like to call it.
Yeah.
He's the same entity as the Mothman, but I don't really believe that. I think it was around the same period of time, But I mean, they could have been there for the same reasons.
Yeah.
It just because if you take what the Mothman sightings are and the description of that, and then what he is, it's like it's two totally different things.
Yeah, his sighting was like, and I know we'll get into it. Is that it was 10 days before the first sighting of the Mothman. Yeah, so it was kind of almost in the same vicinity, not in the same city, but like in the same tri-state area. So that was kind of interesting. I've always thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
it's like that whole area, that West Virginia,
right.
Kentucky is like,
Yeah.
it's like a center, or like an epicenter for strange, unusual stuff. So, anyway, but you guys did actually see the Mothman Prophecies movies, right?
Of course.
Steven?
Yes.
Okay.
Several times.
So
I don't care what anybody says. That is a good movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
yeah,
It is.
It was very like entertaining, but it wasn't historically correct, right?
Huh?
It wasn't.
No.
like, history-
No, because it's set in like at the time present day
Yeah.
and everything like that,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure why they chose to do that, but they did. And, of course I think there's a lot of composite characters and like Richard Gere's character. I don't think anything like that happened. It's just kind of they took the story and put this person in that situation, put their own spin on it. But from just like a movie standpoint, I don't know. It's good. It has that. It gives you that. It's really good, giving you that ominous feeling. Like,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were watching it for Richard Gere, but I was watching it for
Deborah Messing.
Laura Linney.
Laura Linney.
Laura Linney.
She's always been like I've always had a huge crush on her.
Understandable.
So
She always plays like
she's pretty.
a no bullshit character too a lot,
Yeah. yeah. Yeah, she
Did
does.
she play the sheriff on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Number 37.
She had a gun.
Gun. As most cops tend to for their safety. Hopefully.
But yeah, it was a really good movie. I just wanted to play this really quick. I always love that. I've always loved that. I didn't download the one about his shoe. He goes, where's my watch? In your shoe.
Yeah, you should have downloaded that.
Under the bed. So
yeah.
What's in my left hand?
Yeah, that was.
What's interesting about that part is it wasn't in the book, like anything about the calls being made, and there was several people that got calls, but they didn't really talk about it. And I can't really think off the top of my head other things that are in that movie, but there's several things that were not in Keel's book that made it into the movie, and they're not really sure how those people found out about it.
I wish I read the book. Actually, I've been trying to find that book, but every time I go to a bookstore, they don't have it. Yeah. So I think my best bet is just find it online.
I think I have a PDF of it. I can send it to you.
Oh, send it to me.
Okay.
Send it to
but I did. I haven't read all of Mothman Prophecies. I've read I think most of the parts that had Indrid Cold in it, and then I listened on audiobook. Visitors from Lanulos. That was interesting. Very interesting. I listened to it twice, and we'll talk about it once we get started. But Indrid Cold, the Smiling Man, the Grinning Man, is reported to be a human-like appearance, and highly associated with UFO activity, and sometimes believed to be an alien. So I know there was 3 sightings. I had always thought, when I first started reading the story, I always thought that he was an interdimensional, like, time traveler. That's what I kind of thought. But
it's possible, a lot of stories, like, I was trying to tell you about like Billy Meyer and whatnot, and allegedly these beings that visited him from the time he was a little boy until, I guess, probably his death. Oh my gosh, is that me? Anyway, I think they were interdimensional. They traveled in space and time, and like they would just take him with them on their little spaceship when he was a boy.
Yeah.
And reincarnation, all kinds of stuff. But what's interesting to me is, I'm about 50-50 about the stuff I believe on him, like up until, because he had the UFO pictures. But I feel like, they look kind of hokey. You don't ever see the actual beings. You don't see inside, there's like a picture from quote unquote inside the spaceship, but you don't ever see the interior. You just see out the window.
Yeah.
I think that he made those pictures just so people would pay attention to what he had to say, kind of.
Yeah.
But he met with so many like foreign dignitaries, and he was like, just you take the alien aspect out of his life, like he was in the French Foreign Legion and all this stuff.
So he's been to a lot of places.
Yeah, he met Gandhi, he met Saddam Hussein, he met all kinds of people.
Wow.
But it's like, he had to be no bullshit if he was like meeting with these people and these spiritual advisors and these national leaders and stuff like that, and advising them and talking to them. And, there was a big sighting that he had in, I think it was India. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
That several people, said that they were there, a lot, not just like one or two, like probably like 20 or more. But it's interesting,
Yeah, that's actually it's whenever you read stuff like that, it's just like okay, it's just like the tip of the iceberg.
It keeps going. And
so
going
much layers to it. So the first sighting, I don't know if this is just my opinion. The first sighting of Indrid Cold was on October 16, 1966, by 2 boys in New Jersey, walking on 4th Street. Martin Mouse Monov, I'm probably going to butcher his name, Monov, and James Yakatitis. And
you nailed that one, though.
Huh?
You probably nailed that one, but the other one that's like 2 syllables.
Monov. So, they're walking along, and the story on this one was it was a police report of a lady being chased by a guy wearing a metallic green outfit. So they were out checking it out. That was kind of odd, and they said they were walking down this street and they saw they noticed this figure was on this other side of this fence, and he's wearing a metal green suit and stared at them with a huge grin. Mm-hmm. And they saw this thing. They both turned around and looked at it, and then they took off running. And they said that this being didn't have any nose, didn't have any ears, bald headed.
Yeah.
And he had like a metallic green, and he was just smiling. And he didn't. I guess he was on the other side of the fence. On the other side of the fence was like a really steep incline, and they don't know how he got there. And it was just kind of odd. So that was the first sighting of him. So,
which I find interesting too, because other than the grinning aspect, it's totally different than anyone else describes him. Which maybe that's what he actually looks like. And the other was a disguise, or these boys just were full of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did they actually report it before any of the others? Okay.
Yeah, it was reported, and I think Stephen Keel picked it up and put it in the Mothman Prophecies book.
Right.
So
I was just because things like that travel around and once one person sees something weird, everybody does,
Yeah.
So I was just kind of wondering, it's like it's so off from what everybody else has described him as, if that was why, or who knows,
Yeah. So the second sighting was, and we're going to probably talk a lot more detail of this, November 2nd, 1966 in Parkersburg, West Virginia, by Woodrow Derenberger. He was driving home.
Derenberger.
Yeah, he was driving home on Interstate 77, and he was a
salesman.
Yeah, he was a salesman for sewing machines and like stereos, I think.
Right.
And so
JC Penney, yeah, that's right.
And then like he was driving down the road. He had like a panel truck. He was driving down the road, and one of the machines. I don't know if Indrid Cold did this. It
just started coming on like on Close Encounters.
Yeah, so the one of the machines in the back like fell off, so he stopped and fixed it, and then decided to go again. And a car had passed, and then another vehicle. He thought was a vehicle was actually alien.
Again, like Close Encounters.
Yeah,
where it comes up behind not Dustin Hoffman.
I forgot his name.
Yeah, but where it comes up behind him and he's like, "Go around me."
Yeah.
Straight up.
That's probably where they got it.
It's possible.
From.
I mean,
so
I'm sure there's a dozen stories like that.
So he says that this alien craft like pulls in front of him like 25 to 20 feet in front of him and parks it. It kind of goes at an angle and it blocks both lanes, and then I guess it gets over and it kind of makes him stop. Door opens and this gentleman walks out. And he says in the book, in his book, that he was a pleasant looking man, and he was like well tanned, had his arms crossed, where his knuckles were up inside his armpits the whole time. He had a smile on his face. He said his hair was slick back.
Black.
It was black and it was slick back.
Slick.
Say that 3 times.
Can't say it once.
So he was walking at an angle, I think in front of his truck, and the headlights were hitting him, and he's walking over to the window, and then asked him to roll down the window. And he said at this point he was frightened, and and then he realized that this person wasn't talking
verbally. He
wasn't talking verbally.
Yeah.
So he was talking to him through telepathy, and he was afraid to answer. And then Cold said, you can speak to me verbally or with your mind. So I think he says in his book and in his interview he talked verbally to him. So he rolled on the window and he asked him who his name was. His name was Woody, and he said his name was Cole, and that that his name was Cold, and that he had met them no harm, and he was a person just like he was. He slept and bled and died just like everybody else. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So, but he motioned toward. He didn't point, But he motioned to the city. He says, "What is that over there?" And he said, "It was Parkersburg." And he says, "Is that where everybody lives?" He says, "No, that everybody lived like in the suburbs and stuff like that." And he says, "Where he's from, that's what they call gathering. The city is called a gathering." So,
like, not necessarily where they live, but where they work.
Yeah. So that was
interesting.
That was interesting. And then from there, he said that he should report this incident to the authorities, and that he would be in touch with them soon. And he said that while he was talking to him, the craft went like 40, 50 feet up in the air. And there was vehicles coming by.
And he flat out told him, it's like, you report what you saw here.
Yes.
That's what's interesting too.
It is, because, the Men in Black, they kind of tend to like shut people up.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, he did say that he was a seeker, which I thought was kind of different. I've never heard that before, but I don't read a lot of UFO stuff. But the same stuff that I do read is I never heard that before, so it's kind of odd.
And, I mean, allegedly, there's all different kinds, and there are ones that they are kind of trying to help humanity get to the next level. That's kind of a theory too. It's like not necessarily that aliens are from another planet, but some of them might be us from the future.
Yeah.
Or from a different, like, parallel sort of thing, more advanced, That's why a lot of times they show up during bad things like huge disasters, wars, nuclear events, things like that,
Yeah. He did tell William that he was from the planet Lanulos, and he says in this part, it was near the galaxy of Genemedes. Probably getting that wrong. But I think he later changes it to it was in the galaxy of Genemedes, but I thought that was interesting. And then he told Woody that he would see him again. And they would, he said, "We will meet again." Mm-hmm. He didn't say I, he said we.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of interesting too. So he goes back to the ship, and the ship takes off. So he goes home, and he tells his wife, and they call the authorities, and authorities come and talk to him and stuff. So
they're like, okay, breathe into this.
And the third sighting, it was during the same time period, or same period of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The Lilly family reported poltergeist activity in their home, such as diamond-shaped lights. That's weird. Mm-hmm. The Lilly daughter, Linda, was sleeping one night and woke up with a man standing over her. That's creepy. So,
it ain't about that long.
Yeah, that's... Nope.
It was a man, a big man, a very broad. I couldn't see his face very well, but they could see him grinning. That is weird. He walked around the bed and stood right over her. She screamed and went under the covers, and then came back, and he was gone. So that could just be
a dream.
Yeah, a dream. A ghost. I don't know.
I mean, that's a common thing.
Yeah.
A common dream. A lot of people think that they're either being abducted, visited, because it's like sleep paralysis. I mean, I've done that before too, where you're still not totally awake, but you can like open your eyes, but you can't move, or you can't do anything, but your brain is aware, but you're still kind of asleep and dreaming, and it is freaky.
Yeah.
That's where like succubus lore and all kinds of stuff like that come from, or sleep paralysis like that, and like people see gray aliens a lot of times, but our brains are kind of hardwired to see that.
Yeah.
From the time we're born, because when we're little babies, we can't see, so it's like look for big eyes and mouth, and that's like ingrained in our head. That's why we see faces and things that are not that, like in a wood grain or something like that, because that's a survival instinct to look for a face, because that's where you can get food, basically,
Yeah, there was. Go ahead, Steven. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say it's kind of like how we see, like in the dark,
Yeah.
Right.
We see a coat hanging, and it looks like a figure, and you're just like, oh god, you go into that fear mode of what is that? If I don't move, it doesn't move, or you just man up and get up and turn on the light, and you just it's just my coat.
Yeah, but that's our primitive brain.
Yeah, take the L.
That's used to about being in the dark. It's like, well, am I going to take the risk that this is just a figure, or is it a predator? Well, I'm going to assume it's a predator.
Yeah, man up, take the L.
Yeah, take the L.
Take the loss, get scared. That's what I mean. So, what I was telling you before, I was telling you off show. I was reading more of the Mothman prophecies. There was a section on there. It didn't say it was Indrid Cold, but there was a section in there that said there was about the same time in Kansas City. He said the name of the restaurant, but I don't recall. I didn't write it down. So, but there was a waitress that was waiting on a gentleman that walked in, and she said he was like, I don't know, like 5'10", 5'10" and a half, and he had black hair, very tan, had a black hat. And he had a black suit. So he came in. She asked him, "Do you want to sit down?" And he says, "Yes." And so she sits him down, and she hands him a menu. And he looks at the menu like he doesn't know what a menu is. And she says, "Do you want to order some food?" And he goes, "Oh yes, I want to order some food." And so he's still looking at the menu like he can't either read or doesn't know what to pick or. So she goes, "Do you want a steak?" He goes, "Oh yes, I want a steak." So she does the order, brings the steak out to him eventually, and hands it to him. And he looks at it for a long time, and he's looking around at other people at their, what they're doing, how they're eating this food. And so she goes, "Do you want me to cut it?" And so she starts cutting his steak, and then he grabs the knife and the fork and starts eating. And she goes, "You're not from around here, are you?" And he goes, "No, I'm from another world." So that was.
Oh. I just had the theme song from that soap opera pop in my head, and I almost started singing it. And it's like people aren't going to know what I'm talking about because that was like 30 years ago.
That reminds me of that. For some reason.
Yeah.
What?
That reminds me of that scene from Road to Perdition where Tom Hanks is at that diner eating, and Jude Law's character comes in, and we all know how Jude Law looks on that movie. He looks kind of freaky. And the waitress, it pretty much does the same thing. Like, "Are you from around here?" He goes, No, I'm not. He starts pouring sugar in his black coffee, and he just looks creepy. I was like, I don't know why he's got that grinning smile too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminded me of like, of the prophecy movies with Christopher Walken in it when they don't, like the angels, they don't understand basic concepts.
Yeah.
And they're kind of the same in appearance, out of place, long hair, big coat. But
I'm glad I finally saw the first one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta watch. You gotta watch all three. They have more than that, but they're not really.
I know, but Robert told me because the first one is like you gotta watch the first one.
Well, yeah.
So I was like,
the second one got Jennifer Beal in it, so you gotta watch that shit.
Yeah.
Like
Hottie, yeah.
Like prime Jennifer Beal.
Dang, dude, you already sold.
I don't know. They're all about the same. I'm a fan.
You don't have to preach anymore. You already sold it.
Yeah.
But Viggo Mortensen's character playing as the devil was probably
that was really good.
The best thing.
Yeah.
And it was just for like 2 scenes, and he stole the.
It was. Movie. Yep. I'm surprised it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, not too many people can outdo Christopher Walken.
And creepy.
And creepy at the same time.
And then in the way, the devil was the good guy, too.
I know. He's.
Yeah.
Does the devil know how to sew?
Get him to sew that. Oh. That's what the devil said to him at the end when he was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I like the part where, what's her name? Madsen. Virginia Madsen. His character, she just walks in and it's just like, I saw the devil tonight. And she's just like, so I guess like at that point in time though, it's like, okay, there's this thing in my student and it's this old man that everybody hated. And there's this burnt up guy in my attic. And it's like, I saw the devil tonight. Then just add that to the list of shit going on here. My bad.
That's good. We can go deeper into Indrid Cold's dealing with Woody Derenberger a little bit.
Do that.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's just like some weird stuff on there.
Well, and they basically, he became a family friend. Like him and his, he had what, two companions and two sons?
Or
just one?
One.
Just one.
Yeah, just
and then
one.
2 sons.
He had 2 sons, and he had a daughter. He had just had a daughter, like in I think December or something. But
no, I meant Indrid, not Woody.
That's
Indrid had a daughter too.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but I do remember like that when it allegedly recently spoiler that he died in a crash with one of his companions, and I can't remember what his name was, but
it was Demo Hassan.
Okay.
And Carl.
Okay, so then there was 2. He
Yeah,
had 2 companions, and then he had his kids too. So it's like they were just basically family.
Yep.
More or less with these people, and they still, they say that they're allegedly, Woody's daughter interviews a lot and speaks a lot on it. And says that that the sons still visit from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was Connor and Connor.
Connor and Connard.
Connard. Yeah, that was kind of odd, but
wow.
But it was just kind of odd that whenever he did get stuck, whenever he first runs into Indrid, he talks about, I know I didn't say it, that he was about 182, 185, and he had a very good
About
tan.
6 feet.
Yeah, and then he said he was a searcher, and he meant no harm. And let's see here, what else did he say? He says, I sleep, I eat, I bleed, just as you do, and his country is not as powerful as yours. I thought that was kind of odd. If you could travel in different galaxies quick, I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when was this in the 70s?
Yeah. No, this was in 66, 67.
Okay, in the 60s. Well, and that's post World War II. Most of the world was pretty still digging their way out of that. So at the time, I guess we were.
That was during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
So,
but it's still the Cold War, and all of that. And the world is also cold, Indrid. He
eventually goes home, talks to his wife, and he's real nervous, and they call the Parkersburg police, and they actually come out the very next day. That happens, and then he eventually gets interviewed by WTAP, and he gets interviewed by them, and they talk to him for 30 minutes. And during this time, he meets with the TV station people, the city police, state police, the Air Force.
They're interested.
Yeah. And there was a reporter from the Centennial Parkersville. So it was a lot of people, and they end up interviewing him from 2:30 to 6 o'clock. So, and I think at the same time, whenever he's doing that, he gets famous. He gets famous, and then everybody in town shows up to his house. So he comes home from work a bunch of times, and there's 150 people in his yard.
And Indrid could have been there, and they would have never known.
They would have never known. So
that's what's interesting to me. It's just who knows who's out there?
Yeah,
they just then we all look the same.
But did he ever get?
Did he ever what?
Did he ever get his chapstick?
No, that was what's in his hand.
But I thought it was odd, and he goes into work, and this is the second time I think he communicates with Indrid Cold. He goes into work at 8 p.m. and he's driving to work, and jumping way ahead. But he actually, the second time he talks to Indrid Cold, he's going to work. Indrid Cold contacts him. His ship is flying over his truck.
Whoops.
He's flying over his truck, and he talks to him through telepathy, and he tells him that, hey, don't be afraid, it's me, and And he has a coworker with him, driving with him, and his coworker kind of figures that, hey, there's something going on here, and he's like, he's communicating with him and tells him that that he's gonna stay in communication with him, and eventually he's gonna break off, and it's gonna be painful. And so once he stops talking telepathy to him, he gets like a slight headache and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of odd.
Just use the telephone, like in the movie, man. I'm trying to drive. God.
So I think he meets up with Indrid a bunch of other times, and he comes home from work, I think one night, and like he hears like through his mind, Indrid standing like in the back of his house, and he says, don't be afraid, Woody, it's me, Indrid. And so he's standing like in the back of his porch, and he asks him if he wants to come in, and he says, no, I don't want to frighten your family. So he does it, and then he shows him his craft, and he goes over to the craft and looks inside, and he's thinking to himself, because man, I don't want to get stuck in this craft. But then he realizes, hey, they can read my mind. and then Indrid tells him, no, it's only if you want to go, Woody. So which I thought was kind of interesting is that the family actually talks on the Mothman Prophecies that Woody goes like months or like weeks, sometimes weeks.
Like he just kind of disappears.
Disappears for like weeks, days, weeks, months, and then all separate times. And so to me, it's like, because I was kind of thinking, I said, what if he doesn't go? What if he goes in his mind, like he's somewhere else, like he's like laying in, I don't know, a cabin somewhere, and
did he ever speak on what he was doing when he was gone? I don't remember ever hearing that. I just remember them talking about him being gone and how, it eventually affected his family life and his marriage, But I don't remember ever hearing about what he was doing when he was gone. But, allegedly when they had this crash that Indrid and the two other people died in, allegedly. I guess, there's some shit going on between them and whoever. I don't really remember, but I guess that they were chasing somebody, and that's why they crashed. But
they were actually chasing. And his book talks about it. His book talks about they were chasing. They call them humanoids. Okay, and they were a different alien race.
Right.
That would steal stuff.
Right.
And it was like there was a story that he was saying, a friend of his, because he actually mentions like family names that people who have seen these beings too. But and I'll get more into it. And then this one friend of his came to him and said, "Hey, I got visited by this guy, and he took my watch and he took my shoes."
Huh.
And he asked,
what a pain in the ass. I talk about that like with ghosts and stuff, or like with the Bigfoot, like where they just take stuff, and it's like that would just get on my damn nerves. It's like, I know that I've stayed in places where I feel like things get moved and stuff, and that part of me is like, oh well, I just remembered to put it somewhere wrong or whatever, or I dropped it.
Yeah.
But it's like I'll go in somewhere and be like, don't mess with me when I'm asleep, and don't move my stuff.
Yeah. So he goes and talks to Indrid and says, "Hey, with this craft shows up and visits my friend, takes his watch, takes his shoes. Was it your people?" He says, "No." And then Indrid Cold says, "No," and then says, "Take me to them." So Indrid Cold shows up. He takes him over to Jimmy, and they go, and it's like these humanoids, and that's what Indrid calls them. And so, without fighting with them or doing violence, Indrid makes them get back in their ship, and his ship escorts their ship out.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting, and so he talks about that a lot. So whenever Indrid's vehicle crashes on Hellier, or when they talk
Hellier,
about whenever they talk about
Hellier, not at Hellier, but in the show.
On the show, Tanya, his daughter, says that they were chasing a humanoid vehicle, and that's how they crashed to theirs, and so it was kind of odd. So,
do you think she was telling the truth?
I mean, it's in his book, so she probably just used it. I don't know if it's the truth or not.
So that aspect is in the truth. I thought that was something that had to happen somewhat recently. The crashing aspect. That's what I mean. Do you think that like she might have been putting on that they're no longer among us to the TV cameras?
Probably to protect them, maybe.
It's possible, but then it's kind of odd that she offers so much.
Yeah, she does.
But I don't know, man. But it could be that, I don't know. I just kind of have a feeling that might not be as. It's hard to say in this situation that I don't think that part's true.
Yeah.
Everything else, but it just kind of, I have like a feeling that if he is around, that he's not gone, even if even if his physical body is.
Yeah. What I thought was kind of odd in his book, in William Derenberger's book, he was talking about that he actually got invited to NASA, Cocoa Beach, and he did all these tests, and they were asking him all these questions.
That always makes me think of I Dream of Jeannie.
Cocoa Beach.
Because that's where it took place. That's where they worked, you know?
Yeah. So he claims that he got tested by, doctors and psychologists, and he tested well. And he passed everything with flying colors, and that they refused to release it to vindicate him. And he was upset about that.
What were just his mind, the soundness of his mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was upset about that. And
right.
So he goes into this spiel, and I won't talk too much about it because it's not about Indrid. He goes into this spiel about how the government was holding stuff, and
of course,
and they didn't want people to know because the government had said they would make people go crazy and throw babies out of windows.
Babies out of windows.
That's
a little extreme.
That's what he said. I'm saying that's what he said in his book. So
that's a little extreme, but I mean, until recently, of course, we thought Mr. Lead Singer of Blink-182, you're full of shit, and you're not really doing all this. And then lo and behold, just a couple of weeks ago, he actually is doing all this shit, and there are actually videos.
I mean, he was claiming that that he was being watched by the CIA, and then he talked about this one group. I had never heard of them before. It's called National Investigation Committee on Air Phenomenon, NICAP. And they had approached him and asked him to stop talking about UFO stuff, and he says, "I'm not going to. I'm going to talk to whoever I want to about it." So, he does talk about going to the planet,
right?
And he actually talks about when he went into his ship. Eventually, goes into his ship, and they go to a mothership that was behind the moon.
Okay.
And they got docked there, and then they would go. He said they went to Saturn, and he talks about like the crystal rings, and like on the other side of Saturn where it can't be seen, and there's ships parked, and then there's like people working there, and he says that his group's like a part of some kind of intergalactic trading.
Are they part of the Federation?
You were gonna say that.
Is that
But
he's breaking the Prime Directive.
He is.
We haven't reached warp speed capacity yet, so he made contact before he was supposed to. But sometimes accidents happen.
I mean, he gets if you listen to this book, I mean, or if you actually listen or read it, he gets very detailed. He goes into whenever he goes to he says he goes several times to Lanulos, and that when they arrived, he says they have 3 seasons. Planting, harvesting, and cold.
That's what we used to have back in the day, man. More or less.
Yeah.
It's like you had winter, beginning of winter, middle winter, end of winter.
Yeah.
Then it's mostly spring now. Now it's time for all the planting and doing it and babies, and then harvest, dead.
So he was saying that whenever he made it there, that they have streams, they have forests, they have deserts, and like he was saying, like all the cities there, they have these things called gatherings. It's not called a city; it's called like 27 gathering. And so he visited some of these places, and what I was really kind of odd is that Indrid Cold and his people, they're actually nudists.
Well,
they're actually nudists. And
cool.
So they would walk around, and he says the people of that planet have never met an Earth person before.
Were they making fun of his clothes?
Yeah, they were. They were making fun of his clothes, and Indrid and Carl had to talk to him, convince him
to get naked.
And he eventually does, and he says that he never saw people there that were overweight or malnourished. They were all fit.
Well, if they're more advanced than us, then they probably have better genetics, no diseases, things like that. I would think.
Yeah, he did say, which I thought was kind of interesting. He did say, like, whenever they first went and I didn't talk about it, when they first went there, that he would look at the planet, but he didn't go down because Indrid Cold told him that he would have to get a bunch of shots.
Oh, yeah.
So
that makes a lot of sense. 'Cause,
yeah.
I mean, for example, I know this is science fiction. Not saying that this isn't, but like in World of Worlds, what wiped out the aliens? The common cold.
Yeah. And so he says the first time they went, that he could only look, and then he thought it was beautiful, and it was like the most beautiful things he's ever seen. And then the second time he went, that he was actually able to go down. They gave him a shot. They had to bathe him in some kind of, he said, medication. Mm-hmm. And then he was
allowed. Put him in flea tip.
Yeah,
they just didn't want to tell him.
Yeah, he was getting inside Shawshank Redemption. So.
Oh God.
Oh. They allows him.
Oh.
So he did say, he described a couple things, right? I thought it was kind of odd, is that he described, he walked into Indrid Cold's house. He said it was mostly brick, and that he had met his two boys, and that he had a daughter who was like 5 months old. Her name was Camillus.
Oh.
And so, and that he said, for example, what did he say? He said that they ran their power and their heat off thermal power.
Okay.
And it was like really advanced. And like he was saying also that instead of washing clothes, they would like hang them in this room, mm-hmm. and then they would shut the door, and then the room would clean the clothes while they were hanging.
Interesting.
So yeah, so that was kind of.
But they didn't wear clothes.
Well, whenever they would go to.
Oh, okay. Their earth clothes.
He said that they only wear clothes for special events.
Oh, okay.
So like celebrations, holidays, stuff like that. And Indrid Cold told him that if he wanted to, he could stay there. He could mm-hmm. bring his family, and they could stay there forever. And because I think he was saying before that Indrid Cold's people they lived up to 135 to 175 years.
I mean, if they don't have obesity or malnutrition, and they probably don't have a lot of diseases, I mean, that's within reason.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, people today live into their hundreds, now, and they didn't really before because of the advanced medicines. We have, more advanced, I would say. Maybe not super advanced, but.
So, I thought that was kind of odd, and then he was saying also that Indrid Cold asked him. He goes, "Hey, you can live here. You can bring your family. You can stay as long as you want. You can go back to Earth whenever you're ready to do it." And he asked Woody. He goes, "Would you like to visit a family that's from Earth here?"
Wow.
And he says yes. And so they were I think American, but they got picked up in Guadalajara.
Okay.
And so they were living in a retirement place, or they were retired in Guadalajara. They got contacted, and then they were taken there. And so he met with them, and he says they looked about 55 to 60 years old. And he said they were 90 years old.
Wow.
And so they were happy.
It's kind of like Cocoon.
Yeah. I was going to say that too. It was kind of like Cocoon, where they, he did say that Indrid talked about, and I'm gonna get religious here. He said he talked about there was one God. Mm-hmm. There's one God, and that they were taught at an early age that everybody's your brother, everybody's your sister. So they could not understand why Earth was in so much
Division.
chaos and war and stuff like that. He says because they were taught at an early age to love.
Right.
Everybody's your brother. Everybody's your sister, and they didn't understand that. So he tried to explain to him there were some countries that lived in harmony, and there was a lot of ones that like didn't. So, but
yeah, I mean, it makes sense that if they're, that much more advanced than us, that they've come to that conclusion. Because I mean, just to kind of put an example, like I tell the kiddos, it's like you use your words, you use your mind. You don't use violence. Violence is from ignorance.
Yeah,
and it's primitive. If you want to behave like a smart and civilized person, you don't act like this.
Yeah, I think that part, I wasn't surprised that he was posting that, and so Indrid kind of told him that he wanted Woody to speak and make speeches about potentially bringing the people from his planet with Earth and kind of having harmony and seeking and stuff. So I think Woody goes into like almost like 2 chapters where he talks about, he doesn't understand. He's tried to reach out to, the State Department, stuff like that. And he wanted to just tell anybody. So he was actually doing like speeches. He claims that he actually did a speech. I forgot what college it was. He was doing a speech and there was a lot of people there, and he took people outside and he called Indrid, and Indrid shows up. Wow. So I don't know how factual that was, but he claims that the people in the class saw this ship, and he was talking to him and say, "Hey, can they see the ship?" And he says yes, and he goes, "Okay." Then he takes off.
To kind of segue back to what we were just talking about, it makes me think, allegedly Tesla was also visited by entities. He wrote in his journals about having a dream or something of the like, that he was visited by these beings because he was working on nuclear bombs. And so also allegedly, Project Paperclip and Rainbow and stuff, like the things that evolved from the Philadelphia experiment and into the stuff at Montauk. He was allegedly working on that, and a lot of people that worked on the atomic bomb come from this and was working on these alien technologies, and he was visited by these beings, and they told him, you need to stop because what you're doing is going to lead to, it's bad. It's going to lead to destruction. And most of the people that worked on that project said, later, it's like, I have so much regret and, about things like that. And so it kind of is on par that possibly whoever is visiting these people, the ones that aren't stealing your shoe, are really trying to help us. And, theoretically, some people think, that the people that they do visit are from like a
different time.
Basically, like a hybrid line, the star seeds, indigo children, like this next level of either the next evolution of our species or a mixture of ours and theirs.
That's kind of weird.
I mean, if we're that closely related or whatever, I mean, and it's compatible, it's no different than Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal.
Yeah. So he eventually says that whenever he comes back and forth, and that he's actually approached by the CIA, Project Blue Book, lots of people that tells him, like, and he actually mentions, he doesn't say Men in Black because they didn't exist then, or the word didn't exist, but he said he got visited by some people, like in his store. They showed up and they would say, "Hey, you really need to stop talking about this." And he says, "I'm not going to." And they said they have the power to stop him. And he says, "Okay." And he's still talking about it. So,
he called their bluff.
I think he was so popular then, and I think they really
would have been too obvious.
They couldn't do anything to him. So, which I thought was kind of good for his part, because there's probably a lot of people that probably got silenced
in one way or another. Usually things like that, just intimidation will do it. Because I mean, if some weird ass looking bald man in suits and fedoras showed up at our front door and told us to shut the fuck up about something, you probably want to, you know?
Yeah, I know. I probably would.
I don't know, man. It depends.
I call Luke.
Luke. What? Men in Black showed up at my house again.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd allegedly had that happen to him too, which I think is interesting. Like, he.
Sorry.
What?
Depends on who's looking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was actually pretty interesting. And then he does talk about going back and forth and how they Indrid would always tell him that, hey, we're just like you, we can bleed, and the only thing is that they have more technology than here. So, and they can make it through to the galaxy he says 12 minutes.
How many parsecs is that?
I don't know. So,
or did they use wormhole technology? Which franchise? Were we going Star Wars, Star Trek, or Farscape?
I know. Guardians of the Galaxy.
That was the funniest one.
Starscape's War Tracks.
He does talk about another planet. He talks about Venus, but I'm not going to talk about it because it doesn't have Indrid Cold in it. So, but he does talk a lot about that, and then he talks toward the end about how he wants to. He does talk about his family, because his family suffers a lot on this, and so.
Well, yeah, especially with him missing for weeks and months at a time, and they have no idea what happened.
Yeah, he does say that whenever he got famous, that they actually had to move, and so
especially people showing up at their house already. God,
yeah,
because on a much smaller scale, I mentioned that too, that sometimes we would say where we were investigating on our website or our MySpace page.
Damn, you're dating yourself on that one.
But that's a bad idea, because people will show up and try to break and enter and whatever, because they want to be on TV, or whatever.
Yeah, because he was saying that, whenever he got all those people coming at his house, he'd call the cops. He said at first he was really accommodating. He would give them cookies. His wife would give him cookies, and he says that he would give people coffee by the gallons.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, people don't know how to properly take a welcome.
Yeah.
They will push boundaries and borders and be invasive just because, I don't know, man. It's like the paparazzi, basically.
Yeah.
They're hiding in your hedges to see these aliens,
He was saying there was dudes sitting in his tree with guns.
What the fuck?
And so
that sounds, God,
he said once,
that's why they were trying to get him to leave this planet.
And so once that was happening, he said that, his wife became uneasy. His son was having nightmares.
Yeah. Because there's dudes with guns in their trees.
And so
that's scarier than aliens to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So he eventually calls the cops, and the cops come out and they tell people to leave, and then eventually they leave, and then eventually come back. And he did say that there were people that would sit outside, eating their lunch and dinner, waiting for the spaceship to show up.
It was almost like a cult.
Yeah, and he says that Indrid Cold shows up one time in a Volkswagen.
That's awesome.
So he shows up in the Volkswagen, gets out, and he talks to he talks to them.
He probably walked among them all the time, and they just never knew. And that's the best part, because
he's probably the one on the tree with the gun.
If he was, they would probably leave a lot quicker. I don't know, man. I just don't understand that. Why? That's like a first response to people. It's like, oh, there's something different. Let me shoot it so I can
Yeah, he did say he got a lot of calls. He would, because eventually, he ends up moving from that house, because he says that, because he was a salesman, so he worked off commission. He said that a lot of times there were people that would call him and act like they were interested in buying a product.
And they just wanted to meet
him. Yeah, and they just wanted to meet him and get his autograph and talk to him about you. So he would drive 40 miles to go talk to people, and they just wanted to talk about UFO stuff. And
you should have bought a damn refrigerator or whatever.
Yeah. And
also,
yeah, you better buy some sewing machines. something.
Dang.
It always be closing, man.
ABC.
Glengarry Glen Ross. Steven's doing Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie. But anyway.
Yeah, I finally saw that movie. You should be happy.
Really?
But he did say that he had to sell his furniture, move away from that house. They went to a summer cabin. It was right on the lake. It was near the Ohio River. And he said
Was it in Hellier?
No.
That would have been great if it was, though.
No, it wasn't. So he did say that they did have some reprieve for like a month, and then he said some UFOs showed up, and then people found them again.
Oh, shit.
Oh, damn it.
And so, he did say, all the stuff that his family suffered, and he doesn't say it, but in other websites it says that that he began drinking, and
Yeah.
his wife left him, and he became estranged from his kids, and he remarried again, I think, and then moved. I forgot where he moved to, but he eventually moved. But
Like in the Midwest, wasn't it?
I think so.
Because I think that's where his daughter still lives. It's like Iowa or something like that.
So, he passed away like in the 90s, I believe, and
I think like 1999, 98.
I think it was like 90, 94 maybe.
Okay. I was totally wrong. I don't know what I was thinking about.
But his daughter Tanya said she did say that Indrid was there at
At the funeral.
but no one knew who he was.
Of course not, because they expect a gray, probably.
So that was, to me, that was kind of interesting. So I don't know. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the Hellier stuff.
Okay.
So I know it was season 2, episode 2, and the Dead. Mm-hmm. They actually talk about Terry Wriste, because like those rumors going around that was his name David Christie? Or is it David Christie, the one that put the call in? Terry Wriste told
Right.
guy.
Right. I can't remember everybody's name. But,
Yeah,
because I've only watched it once. It's been a minute.
Terry Wriste told David Christie to contact
Right.
Greg and Dana, so to start the show off, and so a lot of people were saying that that David Christie was Indrid Cold,
or that Terry was possibly too.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they started talking about it in season 1 in the episode "The Ink and the Black"?
Yeah.
And God, I always think about that.
They were talking about that the Third Order was MIA, and Alan Greenfield, the guy that wrote Secret Cipher of the Euphonauts.
They interviewed him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what are you doing?
yeah, Steven, what are you doing?
What?
Yeah, you're making a bunch of noise.
Quit moving.
Really?
You all right? You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Well,
I think I put it on a pillow, and the pillow, I guess,
okay.
made a bunch of noise. My bad.
Well, edit it out.
That's okay. I'll edit it out. So I forgot what I was talking about.
We were talking about Greenberg's book.
Terry Wriste, and
Alan Greenberg.
Alan Greenfield. He was saying that in the book that Terry Wriste, he was interviewing Terry Wriste, and so I thought this was kind of interesting because when I read that part of the book, and I sent it to you both. He was talking about the Third Order. The Third Order was supposedly this human and subhuman or alien human group that were stationed here.
Right.
They were invited to stay here.
Right.
And so they were MIA, and so they were no longer around. So Terry Wriste's version of Indrid Cold was that he was a fugitive. I don't know if you got that whenever you read it.
I think so.
So I thought it was kind of interesting because Woody's version of Indrid is that he was peaceful and he was looking for to do
right. He might not have been a fugitive from his own planet.
Yeah.
If he's dealing with these humanoids.
Yeah.
It was probably from them.
So,
just a guess.
Yeah, because like it was kind of odd that he wanted because the reason why he got in touch with Woody because he wanted to do trade.
Right.
And they wanted to trade stuff because and then he wanted to do peace. And then like Terry Wriste's version of Indrid Cold is that he was, seeking him out to find these grays and to weed out these grays. And so that's
things
what
might have changed between
then and there. So the interview that Greenfield did with Terry Wriste was in 94.
Okay. So that's 30 years.
Yeah.
So plenty could have happened between then.
Between now,
those two periods.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. So, I said, man, because like, and then they kind of get into the episode where they actually go visit Tanya, Woody's daughter, and she's like, it looks like she's like in some kind of support home or something. I don't know.
Yeah, she has some sort of
disability
where she's wheelchair bound.
And so she tells Dana and Greg and the crew that Ingrid was killed. He was killed, and you were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I think it's bullshit. I mean, that's just personally just going by how she told the story. How it just feels like maybe if he was running from something, and they might have had a crash, but I don't feel like he's dead.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's just my want for it not to be so more than anything, but I don't know. I mean, that would be smart if he was a fugitive, if he was hiding for something or running from something. It's like he's dead, man. Make himself disappear and maybe change his appearance, because if you go from first sighting to now he can blend in and nobody ever notices him, it's possible that he could do that.
Yeah, because opponent, I guess, whenever Greenfield and Terry Wriste are interviewing, he was saying that that he contacted Indrid through that siphon that I guess that was I forgot what it's called, but it's like it's a siphon that I want to say that it was kind of modeled by what's his name, Crowley.
Yeah, Aleister Crowley.
So
it's based off like the Golden Dawn stuff. Yeah. High magics
and like laws of mathematics or something like that, right?
Which is not, how I like to describe high magic. It's just like science that hadn't really on different levels where most people don't get it, and it's just like because to me, I feel like the spiritual element and the scientific element are one and the same.
Yeah.
We just aren't to the point where we can understand it. And these more advanced civilizations do.
Yeah. I was, when I was reading that part that I sent y'all, because he talks about that I guess he was a Vietnam veteran guy. And, so he's pretty good with guns from what I could read on that. And that he used this siphon filter to look up stuff in West Virginia, and he applied it to Indrid Cold stuff, and it came up with the number 112. And I haven't read that much about this siphon filter, so I don't even. I imagine if I put it to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with like numerology and like Fibonacci and geometry and like sacred geometry. Oh,
yeah.
That's like a huge thing, and it's math.
Yeah.
It's math, but it's also like God when you get down to it, if you want to call it quote unquote that, just like everything.
Yeah.
It is connected, more
or
less.
I actually need to sit down and actually read this book.
It's heavy.
Read this book and try to get some ideas on it and see, because he applied it to Cold's like communications. And it led him, I guess, I don't know how he reached out to Indrid, but he did it through this siphon filter. And they met at some place. It's in the tri-state area, not that far from one of the very first sightings of the Mothman prophecies. So it was actually...
The Mothman.
Yeah,
like the TNT. That's
yeah,
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it wasn't too far from that. So that was kind of, to me, that was kind of interesting how he's mentioned in this book, and but in his perspective, he's like a fugitive, and so he says that the Mothman stuff was like a homing beacon or some kind of signal, and it was a failed signal or something like that. So, but I don't know. I skimmed through it. I didn't have a whole lot of time to read it because I think I gave it to you at the last minute. So
yeah,
I found it at the last minute.
Okay.
So
well, I mean, they touched on it a lot in the series, and oh man, it's interesting, and you know, it just makes you wonder what's right in front of us all the time, you know?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think I may read this book and probably go back and look up some of the Bigfoot sightings that we did. So, see if it...
You tweeted at Greg and he never got back to you, but, you know, he said before, it's like, man, you can't take it personal because every day he gets
I
much stuff like that.
I never have. I haven't taken it that way, so...
I mean...
He's a busy dude, man.
I mean, I never... But it just kind of sucks that, you know, it's probably like most people, they just kind of fling it, click, okay, that one, or whatever's at the top, you know.
He's breaking necks, cashing checks, man. That's where I need to be, so...
You know, I think the other day, because I follow him on Twitter, and he's mostly active on there, that... People are just like, oh, you're just doing this for the money and blah, 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 and it's bullshit, and I don't like your format and all this shit. And it's just like, you know, it's like, you know what? No, it's like, I hate the format that most ghost hunter shows or whatever is in. It's so hokey, it's so scripted, it's so fake. And I loved theirs because it was this documentarian style that they did was...
Yeah, it was shot well.
It was shot well, and it didn't feel like... I mean, believe what you want to believe. It didn't look scripted to me, you know, unless they're really, really good fucking actors, you know. I believed it, you know. It just seemed like people falling down the rabbit hole. It felt like, you know, their reactions would be what mine would be, you know.
I love it. I love it whenever you do voices.
I need to stay off Twitter, but I get so bored now, you know, because we're else are we doing? We're hanging out for the most part, and I just, I get on shit with that, and then Vanderpump. Like, I feel like I'm like, I don't really know these people. Why am I like in their Twitter bullshit? But they put it out there and it's public, so whatever.
Yeah. But I thought it was kind of interesting how, you know, Indrid just, you know, he shows up in a documentary now, or he's mentioned, or I don't
want to like get too caught up on it, but man, so many people since they've watched that one, since they've watched that series, and especially, you know, take this how you will, after. You know, they had that pan ritual in the caves. Mm-hmm. They say after they watch that, people that have had, like, you know, latent, quote unquote, abilities or whatever, that have had experiences or are more open to experiences that have kind of shut that out and ignored it, they're like, it's either coming back around or they're noticing it again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it could just be a placebo effect. That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
But what if it's not?
Projection, like?
But what if it's not? Yeah. What if this is the route he's taking now? Is because the other one didn't really work.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? Because obviously, to me, if you want to believe everything, he's got a message. Mm-hmm. His people have a message that they want our people to know about. And they're trying to convey it in whatever way they can. Mm-hmm. But it's also mixed in with all these other weird shit, you know, like where it all began in Hellier, the goblins. Like,
yeah. Maybe,
it just got so much bigger than that, you know.
Maybe they're part of the Greys. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
Because it looked like that Terry Wriste was like, he was cleaning house on those. Just like he claims that he would go in there and like they would find, he mentions the that one of the cave entrances was filmed on the Deliverance. Mm-hmm. And so he said in the movie you can actually see the entrance.
Really?
That's what he says.
Yeah.
Man of all movies.
So I know, right?
I always makes my drama teacher said she had her very first date ever. She went and seen that movie with the boy. Like,
oh my God.
Like, how, that's like the worst fucking thing I could think. It's like, let's go see
The Deliverance.
some pig squealing.
It's got Burt Reynolds in it.
It does have Burt Reynolds in it, and he's a badass, but
How bad can it be?
oh, he's so bad. So awkward. This is like not a sexy movie at all.
Ned Beatty, man. I feel bad for him. But so I don't know. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think about after we talked about Indrid Cold? What he could be, or just any thoughts?
I honestly, I don't know. I always thought he was a time traveler, but he could be an alien. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be both.
Yeah.
Or neither. Ooh.
Or neither, yeah.
We don't know. I mean,
Or he could still be here.
My name is Indrid Cold.
I think he is.
Yeah. I kind of think so too.
I don't know. It just, I don't want him to sound like a religious figure, but it's kind of, or anything, but it just feels like he's got a mission.
Yeah.
To help us. I mean,
yeah, I think,
and there's a lot of different experiences that people say that it seems that way. You know, some of them are very, very like medical and aggressive or whatever, but for a lot of people, and that they're trying to help us reach this different basic spiritual plane.
Yeah.
You know, get into like reincarnation and stuff like that, you know, because allegedly Billy Meyer was a reincarnation of all these different prophets, which whatever, everybody thinks they're the king, they're not, nobody wants to be the slave, but you know, it kind of goes along the lines of like Buddhism and Hinduism where you level up with each life.
There was a story, it wasn't in Woody's book, it wasn't in Stephen Kill's book, but there was a story on the internet somewhere that said in the later years of Woody, he got really sick, and he had some kind of stomach ailment, and he was in a lot of pain, and somebody had said that Ingrid had showed up, and he pulled up in his Volkswagen.
Come see me, man.
And he showed up. I know, right?
I'm like, oh my God, please, that would be, because, you know, I have that and something I deal with every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, aliens show up and just like heal me.
So he shows up, and this is, I mean, I couldn't verify this anywhere. He shows up and has a vial, gives it to Woody. Woody drinks it, and then he's okay.
Did he have a silver handprint on him later? Wait, no, that's Max Evans.
No.
Oh my God, are you doing Roswell?
Man, for the last 3 weeks, Brendan, Fear, and Mahandra have been doing watch parties on their Instagram Live, and it is the best shit that I've watched in a long time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think this week, I don't know what day they're doing it on yet, but it's probably, every week they say it's the last week, and then they do another and another.
They're watching their Roswell.
Yeah,
right?
they're
Not
watching
the
their
news, but
Roswell. Like, we watched, like, the one where they run away to go find the geodesic dome, and then watched the one after that, the River Dog episode, and then last week we watched the one where they go to Las Vegas. And it's just half the time it's like, I don't remember this. What was happening? We should watch this show sometime. But they just have that. Great. They just have that chemistry in real life because, you know, like they dated for like 2 years too, and all that stuff. But they're still like really the best of friends, and it's just fun to be like a part of that conversation. And
I never watched that show.
You need to watch that show. It's on Hulu. It's really good.
The remake was. It looked like it wanted to be good, and after a couple episodes in, I was like, okay.
I didn't watch it. I mean, I was kind of tempted to because, like, Cherise directed some episodes. Jason was just in some, but it's more based on the novels. I'm pretty sure. Like, after
it is, but they changed a couple things on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's better than trying to be a direct copy, I feel like. But I'd just rather they do a reboot like with Charmed. You know, I never watched that either, but it's like everybody that was involved it's open to doing it again. But yeah, they're trying to get that not really a spin-off show that they did, but it's kind of like a love letter type of thing to the fans. It's called Baron and Toluca, off of Garen and DeLuca, But yeah. It's kind of X-Files, I guess. But they're actors.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Good show.
Good stuff.
I don't even know how many times I've watched it.
I don't know what else to talk about after that. So I mean, there's.
Well, I mean, what do you think about Indrid Cold? Do you? I mean,
I thought, because this is what always bugged me about it, was that I talked to you, Ash, about this off show. Mm-hmm. Why did he pick Woody? Because
that's what I was thinking. What was so special about Woody?
Well,
what was special? Did he just randomly pick him?
Yeah.
Did he foresee a future with him that was just genuine? He thought he was a good person. And
yeah.
My theory is like going back to like the star seeds or whatever, that he was able to hear him, perhaps. Yeah. That he had the ability to, understand, or maybe he just could sense in him that he was able to also, quote unquote,
accept it,
hear, and to this is a person that will actually listen to me and not be afraid, or who knows.
In Woody's book, he does say this, and I didn't talk about it, but he does say that Indrid Cold said that people in the West Virginia area were more receptive.
It could,
why?
I don't know.
It could just
why
be
West Virginia?
Their genetics, because that's like, allegedly people that are like Celtic bloodlines tend to have more genetic or whatever markers, people with like RH or RH negative, positive, whatever, that rare blood type that's just like nobody knows where it came from.
Yeah, there was there was multiple stories, but I didn't look them up. There was multiple stories of whenever Woody saw Indrid the first night. There was multiple stories. I think it was like 2 that the police had gotten that people claimed that Indrid was trying to wave them down on the freeway, but they didn't stop. And there was like some other stories in South America that say that almost during the same time that they were approached by someone in a shiny green suit and didn't say anything about smiling, but that they said they were from Genemedes or something, the same galaxy or something. Maybe not the same person as Indrid, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the first sighting, they said that the woman was running away screaming.
Yeah.
So maybe reason why he picked that guy is because he didn't run away screaming, or that he actually stopped, know. If those other stories are to be believed, it's like, well, finally, okay, this guy stopped and he's going to I want to talk to him.
I was telling you off the show too, our friend Juan, the guy that always cuts my hair.
That cuts your hair? Yeah. I've met him how many times has he come over since I've lived here for almost a year, and you're like, the guy that cuts my hair? I'm like, no, I don't.
I say it every time. He was chatting with me yesterday, and he was talking about that, how he thought that Indrid Cold needed Woody was because it was like a tether or like a connection, a conduit or something, that he had to have someone to communicate with to be effective on this earth.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's possible.
Oh, okay.
And so Rote has good ideas. I think he was drinking a little bit. So
well, whatever, Yeah.
That's
how I came out with that badass title to last week's episode. It had a couple of the
Smirnoff,
the Jamaica Me Happy.
Oh, Jamaica Me Happy.
And I was like, oh, you know what a great title is?
You should have got a 6-pack of the Unnecessary Evil.
I got some Reds this week.
Hey, is that Tom Hardy's brand?
I don't know, but I kind of want to buy a case just to...
It needs to be his brand.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy, buy this brand. So, I think that will do it for tonight, man.
Yeah, how long we got?
We got 1 minute and 23 seconds.
Okay, yeah. What you already got recorded?
Yeah, I got about 36 minutes.
Yeah.
On the wrestling stuff, so with Earl the Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
You gonna add it on to this?
Yeah, I usually add it on because Earl and I were talking about AEW card that was on last night, and
see that?
It was actually a really good pay-per-view last night. It was really good.
Yeah, you're laughing really hard.
Yeah.
Robert's laughing. That's a good skit.
Yeah. I swear, man, I love Jericho. I love what he does.
I do too.
He is just like, he's the hottest thing right now.
I think no matter what he chose to do in the entertainment business, he'd be amazing.
Yeah.
You know, because
he's a good podcaster too, man.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to his podcast every week.
Got charisma.
Yeah. And he's so...
The Ayatollah of rock and roll.
Yeah. Are you guys ready to go to the wrestling segment now?
I guess so, yeah.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Because, hey, everybody, this is the segment where I talk to Earl, for Russell Talk with Earl the Pearl. Hey, Earl, what's up?
Hey, nothing much. What's up with you?
Man, I'm just working like a dog.
Oh, man, I tell you, yeah, it's crazy with everything that's going on with all the states reopening. I mean, especially what you do. I feel like they'd be working you guys hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but it's like, it's work, and it's essential.
Well, you're essential, sir. Maybe you'll get that cool little stimulus bonus that they're talking about.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So how's the family? How's everything going?
Oh, they're doing good. They went to War Rock. My son and daughter did.
Uh-huh.
They went to War Rock with their grandma and grandpa, and then I was working today, so my wife got free reign of the TV in a quiet house.
Dang. That's hard.
I know, she was so happy.
She's probably trying to catch up on, on some shows. The Masked Singer.
She was.
The Masked Singer, probably.
No, she watching the Outlander. It's funny. It's the opposite. She watched Bringing Up the Bass and then Outlander.
Nice.
Two totally different things.
I always kid Clifton about that. Because back when I was working at Dish, we used to always say that he watched like 27 shows, and so I would tell him, I go, hey man, how's the Masked Singer doing? Whenever I talk to him. And he just goes along with it. Oh, it's good. It's really good. He doesn't even argue with me anymore. He just does it.
That's the best kind of joke, when you're just like, oh yeah, it's great. It's kind of like what was it? It wasn't Tim Clay. No, it was the Marvel talking about. He's giving out one guy a hard time in the truck, and then they went to the guys where he was working, and the guy just it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, and this. Like, he didn't even know. He just went straight into it. It's funny.
Let's jump right into it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the AEW Double or Nothing.
Okay.
Because it's the pay-per-views tonight. Let's talk about the card tonight. Mm-hmm. So
nice. I'm ready for that.
The number one contenders for, I guess, the tag teams, the Best Friends versus Private Party.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Man, I'm excited about that. I think the Best Friends are going to get it because, man, since this quarantine's hit, they have just had major storylines. You had the one where they fought Omega and Nakazawa, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they were going to see who got to have the Best Friends name. Because Nakazawa was like, you're a CEO or EVP or whatever. Why don't you just make my name change? He's like, oh, I forgot I am. And I've heard reports where, like, Tony Khan and everybody in AEW higher up were super happy with him because they've just said, hey, we got this. And they've just put the shows literally. I mean, there's been other great stuff. Don't get me wrong, like the whole tournament for the TNT belt and all that. But, I mean, they have been predominant storylines keeping the tag team division And that's the big thing with AEW is they said tag teams are going to matter. So I think I unless they did something between Wednesday and last night to make somebody mad, I really think they're going to beat Private Party.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're on a roll, and they're going to probably be the next tag team titles champions. And stuff.
I think they will. I don't see why they shouldn't.
Shawn Spears versus Dustin Rhodes. That one.
It doesn't even happen. I don't know, man. I like how he did it. I like how he's like, I'm doing business for myself. It has to happen. And then the commentators were like, well, let's promote it. So I think Shawn Spears wins that. I don't think Dustin wins it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Dustin's he's doing what any other veteran's doing. He's pushing new talent over.
Yes.
So
I agree.
So I think that's good. Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. Oh, I love Chris Statlander.
I love Chris. I want to be booped by her. Boop. Hi, Chris Statlander. Man, that's sad though. I don't have nothing. I love Priscilla Ford. I think that's what her name was. But it's just sad that it had to be that because when you watched AEW, you saw the little botch that happened and they hurt her leg really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, she was.
Now, unless it's a work like Randy Orton did.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I could see is they do a swerve like Randy Orton did when they made him believe that he was really hurt when he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, I don't know who's going to win that match. It's a preempt to, hey, we have to have this match. Let's put her in it. So I don't know.
The Stadium Stampede match, the Elite versus the Inner Circle. That one looks promising. I mean, it's you get all your main event guys all in like one match together. So
I've had a bad feeling with the storyline they've been telling with the Elite and Hangman Page. I have a bad feeling. I don't know if it's going to happen, but to me, Earl has a bad feeling that Hangman Page is going to turn rogue and join the Inner Circle.
Who is Hangman? Yeah,
Hangman Page.
I could totally see that.
But then it would be good though, because you'd have a really good storyline. Because Hangman Page is good as a bad guy, like when he was in the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And he could do such good promos against Omega and the Young Bucks. But if he doesn't turn rogue, I still think the Inner Circle wins it.
I do. I think they're gonna do. I think if he turns heel, they're gonna do it after they drop the titles.
Now, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, if they don't turn them, that would be a lot really good. I think that'd be a good storylining.
I think the Inner Circle wins tonight because something Hangman Page doesn't do or doesn't follow through, and it starts building for that. So that's
maybe he shows up drunk because that's the big thing. They always make fun of him because he does drink the beers from the fans, but like I've noticed the last couple of weeks on AEW, like whenever Jericho's cutting in promos, he's always talking about you never see him. He's always drunk. Yeah. Maybe he shows up drunk and costs. Or maybe you don't know he's drunk and he costs it, and they go, "You've been drinking?" And then that starts the turn. I don't know. But I think the Inner Circle is going to win it tonight, though.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. The AEW women's title, Nyla Rose versus I'm going to butcher her name.
I can say it for you.
Go ahead.
Hikaru Shida.
Yes.
I love her. Now, here's the thing. I love her wrestling. And she has some really good videos of her just showing you what you can do for the quarantine on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to win that. I want Hikaru to win it or Shida to win it, but I don't know if you take the title from Nyla, if they're really building her to be the beast.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say Shida does. I'm going to say she. And me, Earl, calling it, I'm saying Shida wins it just because she has been on such a roll, and they've been doing the numbers. They've been really true to their word where the numbers matter. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say Shida wins it, but she's going to win it. I think Nyla Rose causes herself to lose it. Like she's going to go angry or something because it's no DQ. It's no DQ. So she's going to get angry and mess up, and then Shida's going to get her and get that opportunity and win it. That's how I see it going down. Yeah. So I think Nyla Rose is going to be dominant for at least 80% of the match.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's see what's next. The casino ladder match. Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Joey Janela stepped in because Ray Phoenix got hurt. Do you actually see whenever he got hurt?
Yes, he did the
moonsault
dive. Yeah, he did the moonsault, and the people caught his legs, but he didn't catch his top part, and that's the part that hit the ground really hard.
Yeah, because it looked like he landed on his shoulder or his ribs.
Yeah, and then if you listen to the stuff, whenever Orange Cassidy did the dive, the guy that caught him, I can't remember who it was, but he's like, "I got you. Are you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then when it was over, I heard Kazarian yelling at what's his name, Scorpio Sky. He's like, "You didn't catch him," and because they two were right there.
Yeah.
But he was yelling, "You didn't catch him," about Ray Phoenix. So I think it was just an honest.
Yeah.
No, they weren't in the right position, kind of thing.
So Joey Janela steps in for Ray Phoenix. Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, Luchasaurus, and they say it's a mystery man. Any ideas who you might think it could be?
I don't even know because they've had so many people let go from WWE lately. It could be because we were just talking about that inside at the party that I'm at with some friends. They were talking about it. The names they were throwing around, one was Drew Gulak, just because WWE dissed him and called him Daniel Bryan's training partner. I thought that was douchey. But you have a couple of the other ones that got let go. That would be really good in AEW. So I'm not really sure who it could be. I mean, there's a lot of good names. Who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Gulak. I think he's probably going to have 90 days, and I haven't been keeping track of the 90-day stuff with the rest of the big group that got let go. So maybe not really sure.
It could. They have. I know he's been doing the thing on Instagram, the free EC3.
Yeah,
and he's been doing a lot of like his videos where he's just been like intense and like that kind of thing. So I could see EC3. I think he would be really good, and he could even, if it is him, he would be good as like a partner with what's his name, the Salt of the Earth. But I would like to see it be EC3. That's who I would like to see it as.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that he goes back to Impact though. That's just me because I think Impact.
No, he would be good in Impact.
Yeah,
because I loved him in Impact.
Impact would really need him like right about now. But anyway, Jungle Boy versus. Wait, we didn't even talk about who's going to win that. Who do you know?
Now, if it's not somebody that's well known, like someone that you would think that, the only person I can see in a storyline would be. What's his face with Darby Allin? They've been pushing him, and Kaz is like disrespecting him, and then all the announcers are like, "Oh, I would take Kaz's help," even though he's been treating him really poorly. So, and I like Darby Allin's promos.
Yeah,
it's very like Quentin Tarantino-ish.
Yeah. You should.
I like it a lot.
You should listen to his podcast with Jericho. It's a really good podcast.
Ooh,
yeah.
Is it? I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, it's a really good one. He talks about all the stuff that he did and stuff that he had to get by, and he's living in his car and all this stuff. So it was actually really cool. So
I'm about to do that.
Jungle Boy versus MJF.
Man, I think MJF is going to win it with Wardlow's help.
Yeah, I think so too. And then they're going to maybe build him and Wardlow and what's his name, Luchasaurus or something. I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe so.
And that would be good because Luchasaurus has been beefing a little bit with Wardlow. I thought it was funny. Wardlow slipped and all the wrestlers clowned him on AEW this week when they were trying to leave. But yeah, I could see that because if Wardlow interferes, that would set up a really good Luchasaurus versus Wardlow match for a week or two down the road on Dynamite.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'd like to see those two guys.
I would love to see that match. Yes.
Cody Rhodes versus Lance Archer. Where do you see that one going?
We talked about this. unless Murder Hawk, because they made Murder Hawk stumble a little bit 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, man, I mean, but I don't know if you can derail. I mean, what would be the point of derailing Murder Hawk? I'm going to go get one in a minute. I don't see why you would derail Murder Hawk's momentum.
Yeah. Because Cody.
Plus, that would also help. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Cody's been pushing everybody. He's been putting everybody over anyway. So. Yeah,
and he's been pushing people, like he let his brother get sacrificed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why Jake the Snake wants to try to fight Arn Anderson. Because when he got in the Hall of Fame, he was like, "No, my time's come and gone."
Yeah. I didn't know that those two guys never fought in the ring.
I didn't know that either. That's the crazy. I thought when I got older, I thought, well, maybe when they were coming up.
Yeah.
Like before the Four Horsemen. Because I understood when they were big. Like in the 80s, Jake the Snake was in WWE or WWF, what do you want to call it? Mm-hmm. And Arn Anderson was on TNT.
Yeah.
I understood that. And when I got older, I thought, well, it was territories back in the day. They had to have fought each other.
Yeah, at least come
I
across
never really
each other.
looked it up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't either, but I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're right. I think Lance is going to win it, and Mike Tyson's going to give him like the title. And I bet they do something a little bit, and then like Tyson puts him over. I bet.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you think they're going to pull an angle like Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels with them?
Yeah, probably.
God, because they're good at punking the WWE, and now you got Mike Tyson with the title.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to punk and knock out Cody like he did with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But no, I don't see why you would derail Murder Hawk. That makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. John Moxley versus Brody Lee.
It's no disqualification, right?
Yep.
Man, they've been building Brody Lee fast, but they've been building Moxley too. So I don't know. That one's going to be really interesting. Because Dark Order, he's going to have all his little flunkies attack.
Yeah.
And Moxley doesn't have anybody.
This is what I think. I think Brody Lee doesn't need the title, to be honest with you.
No, I don't believe so.
He's good. He's got his group. He'll get past this, and he'll pick another superstar and start picking on them. And
yep,
that's what I think. I think John. They got to have someone really good at the face. If it's not Jericho, it's got to be Mox. So that's just me. So
I don't know if it's going to happen. I just thought about what happened on AEW. Again, like I said, it's just something you always, as a wrestling fan, you always learn as you get older that you listen to what they say. Because there's a story in the ring, and promos are always supposed to build the story. Like I think you were talking that one time about you're supposed to say good things about your opponent, but then also have that backhanded comment at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the one thing that they had on that. Jericho talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
But Brody Lee said right before he sacrificed Ken, he said, that old group is gone. Talking about Evil Uno and whoever the other guy was. I forget his name.
I forgot
the little Viking warrior knockoff guy. Unless Mox went out and found them. That's the only thing I can see is like Brody Lee has his little minion guys beating up on Mox, and right when he thinks he wins it, you see Evil Uno and the other guy, and they beat up Brody Lee, and they cost him the thing.
Yeah.
I could maybe see that. And then that would be a good storyline for Brody Lee, because you would have who is the true leader of the Dark Order. So
that's actually
maybe
pretty
that
good.
happens.
That's actually pretty good.
Maybe that happens, but I don't know if it will or not. It's just something I remember hearing.
Yeah. So that's AEW. I guess we don't really have to talk about AEW for the week because we're talking about the card now. So what did you want to jump to next? Raw, SmackDown.
We can do. Well, I only watched the first hour of SmackDown with my kids because I had to work today.
Yeah.
So we could do Raw.
Okay.
I haven't seen NXT, so I would say Raw would probably be the best one because we watched that.
Okay. I actually watched all that. So
Good.
Edge accepted Randy Orton's challenge for Backlash, so they're talking about it's the greatest wrestling match in history. So
I hate McMahon. I hate McMahon so much. You know, he's the one that came up with that, and he's laughing. I just feel like he's like, oh, for the greatest ever. I'm a genius. I told my friend Daryl today. I was like, I guess they forgot about all the other great wrestling matches, like Ric Flair and Ricky the Steamboat. Yeah. And you also had, and then you also had like a New Japan, Okada and Omega.
Yeah.
Those, you know what I'm saying? So, but that's Vince's handiwork. We're going to be the greatest. So,
yeah.
I like it. I think I want to see if there is ring rust or not. I really do.
Yeah. I think Edge is good. I mean, but that's just me. I'm an Edge fan. I'm going to pull for him.
Oh, I mean, shoot, I love Edge. But I also like it with the story they're telling, because Edge is very much an egomaniac. And he's playing it off like he's not. So Randy Orton knows how to jab at him. You know what I'm saying? So I like what they're doing.
Buddy Murphy defeated Humberto Carrillo.
God, they are squashing that poor kid. Like, he came in on fire, and they just...
Gangbusters.
And then Seth Rollins is the one that squashed him the first time. Like, he should have won against Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins would not lose against him. And ever since then, he hasn't had any good storyline wins or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why
I don't get it.
Why they're crushing him, because he's been there like all along, and not all the talent, not all the big talent wanted to come, and he was there. So unless you're going to make him be part of Selena Vegas thing, like they're going to welcome him back in, because they kicked the Austin Theory out. Yeah.
That's another thing I can think of is, hey, come join us. You've been losing all this time. Come join us and be part of the winners. And then he gets to be heel Humberto. I don't know.
Yeah. Charlotte Flair versus Ruby Riott. She defeated her, but I don't know where they're going with this. I mean, I don't know.
Showing the Queen's dominance, I guess.
I mean, she's good, but I don't know. I mean, I don't get her with the NXT. I don't know. I'm not sure whether you're a fan of that. I'm not. To me, that's like a step down. To me, that's just, I don't know how I feel about it. But
I know how you feel about that. I don't know why. The other thing I think of is she's good. She's a good heel champion. She really is. Mm-hmm. She can work. She sells people over. I mean, we're not talking about SmackDown, but you know what she did on SmackDown for Bayley. And she is. Even though she's beating them like in NXT, she's making them look real. She's doing what her daddy did when he traveled the territories and made their number one guy look like he was the greatest wrestler ever. And then 6 months later, he came back around. You were like, oh, our guy's going to be Ric Flair finally. You know what I'm saying? She's doing it, man. I mean, she's making those NXT people look even more better than they would be regularly. So... But yeah, I don't get why she's NXT champion. Yeah, I really don't.
I mean, other than her, I don't know who else is going to step up. I mean, like in a women's division. I mean, because I like Bayley, I like Sasha. Mm-hmm. Nia hurts people.
She sure does. I can't say any more than she sure does.
Man,
that makes me mad.
Yeah. Speaking of her.
Yes.
She interrupted Asuka in her championship celebration. And I thought that was kind of funny. So,
yes. My daughter and my son are learning about wrestling. That's why we watch certain ones at certain times.
Yeah.
And then she came in, they did a backstage segment, and then Asuka went one way and her friend Kairi Sane went the other way, and then and Nia looked one way, and I was like, oh, she's gonna go beat up Kairi Sane. And my daughter's like, no, again, they're 9 and 7.
Yeah.
No, Daddy, she's not going to attack Kairi Sane. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, Daddy, I know wrestling. And then she beat up Kairi Sane. I was like, oh, someone beat up Kairi Sane. She goes, I knew she was going to do that.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny.
That is awesome. Get them on commentary.
I'm telling you, they think they do. And she likes to mix match Corey Graves and Michael Cole's name on Friday Night SmackDown.
Yeah,
it's Corey Cole and Michael Graves.
That's actually I actually like that. That's actually pretty good.
I know, right?
She's got.
But no, I like what they're doing with Nia Jax, though. I really do. I mean, she's staying relevant, and that's really what she wants. So
yeah, stop hurting people.
God, for real. I mean, I could go into a story for like an hour on that, but I don't want to take all that time up. So that'll be another day.
Bobby Lashley, of course, they're building him up with what's his name?
MVP.
MVP. So I that's I don't know where he's gonna go. I mean,
no, but I like that they had to swerve that you thought they weren't, and then they did, and then you had Lana throwing stuff in the back.
Yeah,
and I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm okay with this whole storyline.
Yeah, I mean, if it worked with the Rusev, and that was like the hottest thing for a while was Rusev and Lana and Bobby Lashley. Even though I didn't really like it, it was like people wanted to see it, and but okay.
And I'd rather listen to MVP than Lana. So.
Yeah, I agree. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defeated the Iconics, and it was I think they got disqualified.
They sure did. Peyton Royce let her anger get to her.
Yeah. I really like them. I like them a lot. I mean, maybe not all their wrestling moves, but I like their shtick. I think it's cool.
Yep.
So it's
I agree.
It's what the tag team division has been lacking, and so when they got back, I go, man, finally.
I agree, and then, but I don't like that. To me, I get the cynical part of it, and she smacked Billie Kay and then said she was sorry. I was like, crap, they're going to break them up. Just 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, I don't see them breaking them up. This is what they need, and now I'm afraid they're going to break them up, and I'm a little sad about that. I hope I'm wrong. But
yeah, I
feel like this is the beginning.
I think this is going to be their turn where they go into serious mode and they start contending for the tag titles and start making it relevant again. So that's what I
hope so. I 100% agree with you.
Okay. Shayna Baszler. I said it right?
No, Shayna, but you were close.
Shayna.
You said the last name right. That's what matters.
Shayna Baszler. She defeated Natty in a submission match. I knew that. Natty was
looking good for a minute.
Yeah, I did like her throwing a temper tantrum afterwards. Like she's not okay being squashed all the time. And she tore up Kevin Owens' set like before he came out. So I thought that was kind of cool. That is me. But.
I thought that was great. There's a little GIF where the creature from the Black Lagoon that's mad. He's like, blank this thing, and he's tearing everything up. So what she was doing, I was like, blank this sign too. The heck with this chair, and that's what I was saying in my mind. And it was making me laugh. I liked it. I like it when they show their frustration, because then you're like, okay, she doesn't like being squashed all the time, like you said. So yeah. I like that.
And then Kevin Owens came back to do his show with Apollo Crews. He was doing the interview with Vega and Theory and Garza and Almas. Well, I thought that was kind of cool, the build up for that, and then they had the match afterwards, and they kind of Vega and them kind of like so they kind of dethroned Theory. So I thought that was kind of cool. And he stayed out there. I thought that was excellent.
Yes, because that was the beginning, just like Buddy Murphy. As soon as he did that, I was like, he's joining. I was like, oh, he's pulling a Buddy Murphy. And when I saw that, and I liked it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious whenever the Authors of Pain come back. I mean,
man, where have they been? I don't understand WWE.
I think they're probably out of country and they're having a hard time getting back.
That's probably what it is. I bet you're right. Yeah, because they're like from way over yonder.
Yeah, they're from I think I want to say Kazakhstan or something.
Yeah, something weird like that, like Armenia, and it's because when they won the titles, they were talking about the younger of the two, being the first ever whatever nationality he is champion. So yeah, they're from somewhere over yonder, really far away, that I'll never ever be able to travel to.
Yeah. And then Aleister Black defeats Buddy Murphy, and then off a disqualification because Seth Rollins kind of recruits Theory, and he kind of points. He doesn't tell him. He just points, and he knows what to do, and he interrupts the match and stuff like that. I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm. It was, and I'm interested to see, because we talked about it last week where he showed his fire, and then he was all cocky today, and then he got a new follower. But Buddy Murphy, they made him look like he wasn't happy until Seth Rollins said attack, and then he just instantly went into blind follow mode. You know what I'm saying? So I wonder if they're going to have like a little, like, I don't think if they have a jockeying for who's the better disciple, I don't think it's going to be like they did with Vega, where they had him and Garza do it. But it opens up a big thing, because then you could have Seth Rollins going after them, and he'll have, I don't know, it's really good, because now he's got a stable going on, and there's more possibilities there.
Yeah. Drew McIntyre defeated Baron Corbin with Lashley and MVP watching like in the background, and
yes.
I think that's pretty good. To be honest with you, that was like 5 years ago. That was an Impact main event.
It really was.
Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley.
I meant to tell you, when he came back with Drew Gallows, isn't that what he called himself?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he came up with the Rise Up thing, that was when they were doing a little tour, and I was actually on camera holding up a sign.
Really?
But I had a sign for a YouTuber that I used to watch all the time. But they sent a bunch of swag to work, and Z came back. I don't think you ever met Z, but he's like, "Hey, do you know who this is?"
Z,
and it was Drew Galloway.
I knew
and
Z.
I was like, did you? Okay. So he was like, do you know who this is? Because Janet knew that Z was a wrestling fan, but I guess she didn't know I was. Like, yeah, it's Drew Galloway. It used to be Drew McIntyre. He was 3MB. He's like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, I really like him. And I started talking about his song, and I was like, oh, here, bro. And he gave it to me. It's like a little plaque looking thing. I'll have to find it. I'll have to find it, take pictures, and send it to you. But yeah, I got that, and I have it up in the closet. But yeah, but he was good. He was good as the Rise Up. That was when I was like, oh, he's actually legitimately an actual wrestler now. And I went back and watched when he went back over to Scotland or Ireland, and first night there, threw that dude through a table and took the title. I was like, oh my God, he's really good.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool, because when he was on Impact, he was doing that. He kind of made Eli Drake. I don't know if you're a big fan.
Yes, he did.
He kind of.
I was going to say. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was like, yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. I loved Eli Drake when he was part of the Rise Up.
So it was like Eli Drake. It was another dude. I think he's in New Japan now. I can't think of the guy's name, but he's a part of the Gorilla Group and Bullet Club. But he was with them, and I thought it was kind of cool, because I like Eli Drake. I think he's good on the mic, and he's got the physique. He looks the part, and he does good work. So I mean, I kind of like it. So I'll say this that he's over in NWA now, but I still like him.
Yep, he had a kind of a little like Jim Cornette moment whenever he left Impact. So talking about not wanting to wrestle the woman.
Yeah.
Who was that? Who was he not wanting? It wasn't Scarlett Boudreaux. Was it Tessa Blanchard that he was talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. He lost a lot of respect with some people, and then he went over to NWA. But yeah, no, I remember I loved Eli Drake. I thought he was really good with the Rise Up, and then he had his own little angle whenever they were doing that, right around the time Damian Sandow came back.
Yeah.
I was so mad, because I was like, yes, and they turned him into some really weird character, and I was like, oh, no one knows how to use him properly. Yeah. It made me really sad.
Yeah, I think he's on in NWA now, so I think he's kind of doing that character again. So he's doing the one where he wears like the robe and the and the towel, and he has a wrestler that's a mass wrestler. I don't know who he is, and he like whenever he's tired or sweaty and doesn't want to do any more wrestling, he calls this guy up. He goes, "Okay, come up here and finish the work for me." So this wrestler comes up. He comes up. He takes the match. He wins, and then like the crowd likes him. And then, like he raises his hand up, and no one cheers. And this guy walks into the picture, and they all cheer, and they go, "No!" He goes, "No."
That's great. Now,
it is.
Now that's something. See, when you do something little like that, that's the good stuff.
I just don't know. I just don't know who the wrestler he is. This mass. I don't know who that is. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I like. Like, I was watching Xavier Woods on their little Up, Up, Down, Down, and he said if he ever started his own promotion, he said he would have one match once where the heel is pinning the guy, and he get to 2, and he looks at the ref. All right, I'm right there. He looks at the ref, says, "No, that was 3." And the ref's like, "You know what? You're right. Ring the bell." And I was like, that's funny. That's the kind of stuff that you're like, oh, that's pretty, you know what I'm saying? That's ingenious. You don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like once every blue moon. But yeah, that's pretty funny though. I like that gimmick.
So, I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch Impact this week. I was just too busy. I was too busy doing stuff. And okay, we'll go ahead and do this next week. And Earl, I really appreciate it. You have any shout outs for anybody?
Yeah, I do. Thank you for that. And I thank you for having me. I really do. I really love talking wrestling, and I love talking to you, so it's great. I just want to shout out my friend Lisa, because she's been listening to the podcast and everything like that, listening to this part and then other parts of that. And then I also just want to shout out my wife and my 2 babies. So Joanne, Zoe, and Zach. Zoe and Zach makes wrestling a little bit funner again because I like to see what I had at that age. So I think that's really cool.
Well, right on, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's.
Hey, you're welcome.
That's awesome, and we'll talk next week.
Okay, sounds great. All right, talk later.
Bigfoot Club for
I must bid you adieu, and so, goodbye, and good night, bang!